My name is Vishwanathan Sahasranamam, and by the time you figure out the number of A's in my name, I'll do my introduction. Yeah. So I'm the Vice President and General Manager of Coimbatore Innovation and Business Incubator. It's a public-private partnership between Shakti Group, one of the largest business groups in the Coimbatore region, and Department of Science and Technology. We're a technology business incubator, and we've launched Forge, an innovation accelerator brand program, and I basically help set this up from the very ground up, and I've been at it for the last 1.5 years. I have over 16 years of professional work experience spanning large corporates, mid-sized enterprises, as well as several startups. So that's me. Okay, number of A's in my name. Thank you for being more attentive to my introduction and not the number of A's in my name. I think there are 8 A's in my name, if you get it right. Yeah. All right, thanks. So let's dive straight into what we have to do for today. So I'm going to talk, share, interact, discuss, and hopefully understand the 2 words, disruptive innovations. Is that a deal? Yeah. Okay, so let's start here. So who? Yeah, Ramakant Achrekar, and he was coaching who? When he was what? 12, 13 years of age, right? Okay, now what is the basis for this coaching? There is a playbook, right? So clearly Achrekar has a playbook, right? And the playbook basically says if an emerging player with a lot of potential has to become a great batsman, then there are a few basics that this player has to perfect, has to learn, has to become the best at, right? Now what are the few basic things that make up the greatest batsman in cricket? But how does one become consistent? What are the basic skills? Technique and timing more than technique, right? What else? Practice, but when you practice, what are you trying to practice? What are you trying to, okay, I want to go and bat for the next 1 hour. What's the goal? What skill? So what are the, so for example, if Sachin Tendulkar plays the back foot, cover drive, so he's got perfect balance, he's got the right grip. Yeah, and why is footwork important? Because without footwork you won't have balance. So which is more important? It's ultimately balance, right? Whether you get it with the textbook stroke that Sachin plays, or you get it with the way Sehwag would play. Doesn't really matter. So what matters more, footwork or balance? Right? What matters more, technique or timing? What matters more, skill or hand-eye coordination? What matters more, your ability to play 15 different strokes or be able to judge line and length of a ball? Which is more important? Can you coach technique? Can you coach timing? You can teach technique, but what can you coach? Timing, right? Concentration, of course. Can you teach concentration? You can coach. So the point is, for a player like Sachin Tendulkar who had this, God-given talent, for him to transform that into becoming the greatest batsman ever, it basically required these few basic things to come together, right? And his practice when he was this age until the last day, I'm sure all of us have seen, the last Test match, the 4th day of the Test match versus West Indies in Wankhede, 3 wickets to go. Ashwin was waiting to just finish the tail in about an hour. That day morning, Sachin Tendulkar walks out into the Wankhede practice pitch, and Duncan Fletcher, the coach, batting coach, plus the Indian coach, tells him, I want you to play 100 balls of off spin. Is he nuts? Now, why does Sachin Tendulkar listen to that? Because the importance of following a playbook, right, is to master the method. right? And if you or I go and ask Sachin, if you ever have the opportunity to do that, and say, what made you this greatest batsman, right? He would pretty much thank everybody other than you, right? He would talk about, you know, the miracles, the magic, the mystique, right? The macho. It's very difficult to talk about method. But actually, you know, what mattered is the method, right? Now, where did that method come from? The practice that his coach put him through in the early years set him into a direction, into a path, and he said, I've given you the tools, son. I've given you the method. Now it's for you to go and become the greatest batsman there ever was. Right? Yeah? So sports coaching is player acceleration. And what are you accelerating? You're taking a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, and you're getting that 12-year-old with bountiful talent to become ready for greatness. Right? And as the coach clearly knows that greatest batsmen have these 6, 7 very important attributes. You call them attributes, the foundation, the basic skills, whatever it is, whatever the word is. And it's a constant pursuit. In fact, for the greatest batsman, it's a career's pursuit of excellence. Right? Agree? Okay. So what's greatness in innovation? Disruptive innovation. Right? And what's accelerating innovation? Towards becoming ready for disruption, towards becoming ready for the innovation to become disruptive, right? So why is studying disruptive innovations important is for us to create a playbook for us as innovators, as startups. You all understand the difference between a startup and a small business, don't you? What is it?
Over and beyond bootstrapping is what is a small company.
What's the difference between a startup and a small business?
Small business.
Sorry? Exactly. There's something new, something different, something never done before. Sorry? Uncharted waters. Exactly, uncharted waters. You don't know, right? That's why it's a startup. Every small business is not a startup. Only that is doing something which has not been done before is a startup, right? So we're all innovators in that sense, right? So for us to become disruptive innovators, is there a playbook that will help us give method, right? Now, do you think you can create another Sachin Tendulkar by getting him to watch the videos of, you know, Don Bradman, or hear the commentary of Tony Greig or Richie Benaud or Harsha Bogle now? Do you think that's possible? Then why are we watching so much of Steve Jobs? Then why are we reading so much of Rashmi Bansal? No discredit to Rashmi Bansal, but the point is, can you create the next best innovators and entrepreneurs by getting them to read books or getting them to practice with a playbook? Right? So the playbook for accelerating innovations is derived from studying disruptive innovations. Yeah? Okay. So if I were to derive a playbook for batting, I have to study the greatest batsman. And who's that? A few of them, right? Don Bradman, Vivian Richards, Barry Richards, Sunil Gavaskar, Garfield Sobers, yeah? Len Hutton, few of them, right? Okay. Disruptive innovations. What's your choice? Helicopter shot. No, I'm talking about disruptive innovations. We've done enough of cricket. Disruptive innovation. Will you study Steve Jobs or will you study Apple? Or the iPhone? Which one? iPhone. What will you study? What will you study? What will you study?
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs or iPhone?
Discovery of mouse.
Discovery of mouse. What will you study, Ravi? iPhone. Okay. What will you study? Tesla. Okay. What will you study? Steve Jobs is not an innovation, right?
Discovery of cut and paste. iPods.
iPods.
How they went in?
Yeah, but which one? You got to start with, we decided with Richards, right? So, yeah, which one? WhatsApp. Somebody else? Uber. The credit cards. Okay, I think the greatest innovation ever was currency. Right? Now, if there is one answer to this question, this is the world's greatest or humanity's, mankind's greatest innovation there ever was. What's the answer to that question?
Wheel.
Do you agree? Wheel.
Wheel.
Electricity.
Internet.
Internet. Zero. My God. Okay. Telephone. Someone there. Light bulb. Okay. Someone there at the last. Fire. Now, how do you settle this debate? Do I have 15 hours? Do I have 1.5 hours?
You can take 15 hours.
It doesn't matter really. Yeah? It's very tough to answer the question, right? So when in doubt, what do? We ask Google. That's what I did, right? So what did I do? I searched for the word innovation. I did an image search, right? So I said, okay, now if I go to Google and I said innovation, I'm not even using the word disruptive innovation, I'm just saying innovation, and look at what I get. Right? Now, you can try it yourself. I mean, this is not rocket science. It's not a separate Google private server that I have. All of us have the same access. Right? Now, what I found in this is that pages after pages, right? There are only two kinds of pictures. There's one with a picture of the electric bulb in different, variations and avatars. And then there's the word innovation written very sort of creatively, right? There's nothing other than that. Now, what does that mean? Now, how does the Google algorithm work?
More page views comes up.
Right? So, the more we associate the word innovation with the picture of the electric bulb, is why this happens. Through our blogging, through our websites, through our writing, through our every possible content that we've put onto Google. Don't blame Google, that's the messenger, right? So which means over time, humanity, we have created this fact that the electric bulb is the greatest innovation. Now, even if there was few others which came back in this search, I would have, sort of conceded, but just one and nothing else.
No, but that also could be because of the behavior. Like, somebody first did this picture and the next 20 people follow the same thing because they were lazy.
Exactly. So what does it all mean? As humanity, we've only sort of,
Not been creative actually.
Correct. So whether you call it a self-fulfilling prophecy or the mechanism that works, or what Karthik spoke about in the morning, right? If I understand and recollect something, then I propagate it, right? That's what he said, right? So whatever it is, but this is the state of affairs, right? And to me, the learning starts right here. The greatest innovation myth is that the electric bulb is even an innovation. And I want to start the serious part of this presentation with this premise.
Electricity wired itself is a flaw. That's what the theory is. So why it has to be wired? It shouldn't have been wired.
We'll get to that, right? To me, the electric bulb was invention. The electric light was innovation. You see the difference? What's the difference? The invention solved a technical technology problem. The innovation solved a human problem. What's the human problem it solved? Remove darkness, dispel darkness, let the darkness go away, right? Now, do you really think Thomas Alva Edison invented the electric bulb? The fact is that he reinvented the electric bulb. The electric bulb was originally invented by Sir Humphrey Davy, 60 years before Thomas Alva did what he did, right? But there was a problem with that electric bulb. It was a gas bulb. It had a vapor substance, a gaseous vapor substance inside a glass, a structure, enclosure, and he passed electric current, and this vapor would glow. But there were several issues with that electric bulb. Why? It can burst. Yeah, it's very unreliable. It can run for 2 minutes. It can run for 2 hours. So you literally put a light up and you're just looking at it. Okay, what's happening, right? And it was very cloudy because the vapor formed different sort of concentrations within the glass bulb. So it would be very wavy, very hazy, very cloudy. So what did Thomas Alva Edison basically do? He created a better bulb, right? He created a better bulb. Yes, he did that, and he, very famously used, in today's money, it would have been about $50 to $75 million, which were given to him by, do you know the famous legendary tech investor VC that put money into Thomas Alva Edison? No, that's the name of the company. Yeah? Yes, JP Morgan. He put an equivalent of $75 million in today's money's value. And he basically created the electric bulb. And very famously, Edison talks about how he invented 1,000 ways not to invent an electric bulb before he found the one way to invent the electric bulb, right? What did he do? He tried different combinations of metals and alloys, and finally he landed with tungsten carbide, right? And this thing, when you put it into a glass bulb and you pass electric current through it, it glowed, illumination, right? And it had all of the other problems solved. It didn't burst. It was very reliable. It could run for very long hours, right? Okay, so Edison takes this money. He gets it done in his lab in Menlo Park, which is why it's called the Wizard of the Menlo Park. It's a place in New England, in Massachusetts. He does all of that, right? Now, the moment he did this, was his neighbor able to use this invention? Was the next door factory, was the next street, were they able to dispel darkness with this invention?
No. They didn't have the
Exactly. Look at the cost of the equipment that went into setting up Edison's laboratory, right? He had a cogeneration plant which generated DC, and then he had all of these apparatus and wires and all of that thing running. Now, can you recreate all of that in factories, streets, households? Right? So let's put this through, a checklist. You call it the disruptive innovation checklist. So the electric bulb, is it usable? For whom? The end customer, the human being, right? You and I. Not you and I, but maybe our great-grandfathers. Is it accessible or available? What is the human skill that it takes to be able to take what Edison did in his lab and give it to his neighbor? Forget people living miles and miles away. His own neighbor, useless, right? Is it affordable? Is it feasible? Is it viable? Do you think Edison could have started an electric bulb manufacturing company the next day? Do you think JP Morgan would have funded that? Was there money? Was there profit? Was there business in the business of electric bulb? Was there? Do you really think so?
Why did Morgan finance it?
Sorry?
Why did JP Morgan?
We'll get to that. Right? Whereas, look at the electric light. Yeah? Do I have to walk you through the checklist, or it's self-explanatory? What do you have to do to get light in the room? Flick a damn switch. Simply turn key on wall by the door, there shall be light. Right? It's usable. It's available, it's affordable. Of course, it's viable, but what is the viable business here? Is it the business of electric bulb manufacturing, or is it something else? The business of the power utility company, right? That business model is what made this viable, right? So let's start with a definition of disruptive innovation, right? It's not very different from how I would define the greatest batsman, which is a combination of these 6 qualities, right? Balance, grip, timing, hand-eye coordination, ability to watch the ball from when it is bowled and be able to judge line and length. So if I were to put a definition for disruptive innovation, I would start with this, right? So a profitable solution, right? A profitable solution. That has to be the first word. Otherwise, to me, it's an invention. That solves a very severe human problem completely. What's the human problem here? Darkness. How much more severe can it get? And it solves it completely, right? In the most affordable way and is available for every human that faces that problem. Right? Now, what made this possible? Starting with the invention of the electric bulb, to have it transformed into the disruptive innovation, which is electric light, which solved a human problem, what made this transformation possible? Two things. The technology and the business model of power generation, power transmission, and power distribution. I could not have in any other form, unless you tell me there's another way, emphasize the importance of technology and business model and the role they play in taking an invention into becoming a disruptive innovation. Right? Do you think, Ramakant Achrekar, when he started with Sachin, he said, okay, let's get this guy to play for Mumbai. Do you think he would have started with that? If he started with that, where do you think Sachin would have ended up with? He would not have made it to the Shivaji Park school team, right? So if you are starting out as an innovator, as a startup, if you set your sights on becoming a disruptive innovation, chances are you will be an innovation. Chances are you will be a successful innovation. Chances are you will be a profitable business, a popular product, a useful product, a sustainable business. It's like aim for the stars and you'll get to the moon kind of a logic. Yeah? So what makes an innovation disruptive? So what are those 6 attributes that we talk about in terms of the greatest batsman? In similar ways, what are those 6 attributes that we should come to define disruptive innovations? Make problem solving easy and simple. For whom? For the end user, for the end customer, right? It's not funny to just solve it in your lab and say, oh yeah, I got it done. Is it something that you're able to give it in the hands of the consumer who's untrained, uneducated, unintelligent, who doesn't have the passion that you have in technology? He's saying, yeah, give it to me in a manner that I can use it and solve my problem and solve it completely. Solve unsolved severe problems. Both the words matter. It's not just solving previously solved severe problems. It's not just solving unsolved but not so severe problems. It's solving unsolved severe problems. And when you look down into your idea, your problem statement with which you have started out this journey, I'm sure you can look at something that's much, much more severe than what you started out with. There's actually a process to go through that, right? I mean, you can, and that's what design thinking and some of these other tools help innovators and startups acquire in terms of tools. Are affordable and available to the most. And what does this most signify? A large target market, right? Create new, very large markets. And the importance here is the word create, right? Disruptive innovations create new markets. They don't just go after existing markets. In fact, it's never been done, and that's the sort of strategies that I would go through in the next part of the presentation. For innovations to become truly disruptive, you've got to go create new markets. Scale lowest cost business models, right? Lowest cost business models are profitable very, very early. And I've naturally used PC, internet, Google, aeroplane, wheel, all of that as examples, bicycle, all of that as examples to prove the point that these have become disruptive innovations simply because they had all of this going for them, right? So if I got to summarize, so disruptive innovations solve unsolved problems, make problem solving easy and simple, are affordable, available to the most, create new very large markets, scale lowest cost business models, make profits very, very early. Yeah? Sorry? Scale lowest cost business models. You want to understand that? Yeah. So there's always a cost to a business model, right? So you take a business model, take the Google business model, the AdWords business of Google, right? Now what are they doing? They're basically helping brands and advertisers, products and businesses get themselves known to their target customers. Demand generation, that's what advertising is for, right? Now what's the Google business model? So if let's say P&G were to launch this new product and say, I want to get to 100 million consumers in the next 5 years, and here is a $20 million ad budget, right? And then there are the conventional ad agencies, the tier 1 agencies would come and give them a proposal and say, yeah, we'll use different medium possible, we'll have these kinds of campaigns, we'll create this kind of content, ads, print media, whatever, and we'll help you achieve your target. What does Google do? Google says, not will I reach 100 million consumers, I'll probably reach 200 million consumers, but at 1/100th the cost, right? What makes that happen? What's 99% of the content on Google? Did Google create it? So if Google creates content, Google does not create content, and that content drives traffic, and the traffic drives ad sales, what's the cost of Google's business model? Pennies, right? So you understand what I mean by lowest cost business model and scale, right? So let's say Google spent about $5 million to get to 1 million concurrent users on Google, right? $5 million for the first million. How much do you think it cost them to go from 1 million to 100 million? 100 times more cost, right? So you can scale a low cost business model, yeah? The one metric that matters. To me, calling an innovation disruptive is about the test for a simple question. Is this available, affordable, usable for 100 million, a billion humans? That's the one metric that matters. It's about setting a threshold, setting a bar, and actually figuring out which is disruptive and which